Yo, what's good, Legion?
Yo, what's good? What's good, Mr. White? Welcome to the Camouflage Crews podcast. We are in this bitch to win it one time.
Yes, sir. We coming at you at 1:56 a.m. Central Time on Saturday. We got started a little late, or I guess you could call it a little early, however you see. So, you probably catch this when you wake up in the morning. I know you're going to be a little too tipsy to catch this when you come home from the club. But either way, we got some good content for you. We wanted to do a little bit more of an introduction today, or just kind of talk about in general what we're doing with our cast, and kind of what our goals are. I think a lot of times people put stuff up and they start doing it, but they don't really talk about why they're doing it. We don't want you guys to just thinking we getting bored and we just want to hear ourselves talk.
Yeah, by they we mean us. Yeah. We did that and then realized like we forgot to tell motherfuckers what's really going on.
Exactly. They don't like, why are they doing this? So I think what we agreed on is that in all this time that we've been doing music as independent artists, Legion starting his own independent label, both of us being independent producers. I think me somewhere around I think I made my first track when I was 11. I've been in a studio atmosphere since I was about 8. So, I mean, it could be almost 20 years, my involvement in music. I've been in band. I've been in multiple choirs. I've done other productions, talent shows, showcases, things like that over my lifetime. So in terms of entertaining and doing music, that's something that I definitely hold dear to my heart, in terms of the theatrics behind it, or just doing music. That's something that I've always been involved with. So when I linked up with Legion several years ago at this point, we started talking and we dropped several projects, and we recently just dropped 2 more projects. But we wanted to start reaching out to people and engaging our audience in a way that we haven't done before. I think a lot of people listen to our music, but they don't really know who we are or the story behind the music. So now it's trying to bring that all home, and also bring people content in a way, and talk about it in a way where maybe you're not hearing about it, because a lot of people that you see discussing these topics are tied in with the industry. So of course you're going to get bias. Of course you're going to get a different perspective, but it may not even relate to you as an artist. Like, what does that mean to you as an independent artist, or somebody who has an independent label is trying to build your brand? Like, what is all of this chaos, the beef, all of that, the changes in the culture? How does that help you, and how do you benefit from it? And also what not to be doing, right? Like, you could be learning from the mistakes of these people, and I think that's what we really want to discuss a lot of times is this good? Is this bad? Is this exciting? Is it a positive or negative change? And how can you use that to bring value to your situation? And opening up that forum to anybody else who wants to talk about these things with us, engage in our music, engage in our community, and maybe we can bring value to your situation like we brought value to ours, and build it up to similar levels or even higher levels. So that those are basically the goals here of the cast, and just bringing an independent perspective to the music and the entertainment business. Do you want to add to that?
Well put. Yeah. I mean, we definitely are trying to sort of break the stigmas that are out there for a lot of people who are sort of trying to do this independently, right? Like music, and it's whether you producing, rapping, or you trying to get into promoting, management, any of those things. We try to break the stigma that's out there, because a lot of people who are in positions of power, or who are already on, quote unquote, they will steer the narrative in a certain direction to sort of gatekeep the game, right? And so it's like, in the YouTube community, information is shared, right, freely with other YouTubers. Like, there's so many YouTubers out there that are willing to have whole videos about exactly how they do what they do, and so we want to bring that sort of vibe to YouTube and the interwebs but about hip hop. You know, like we want to share the information we have. We want to exchange information with you guys and have a commentary with you guys about everything that's going on, and not just necessarily hip hop, but anything hip hop related, and just in general. We talk about gaming, movies, whatever is going on at the time that strikes us.
I think anything that could be culturally relevant to hip hop. I mean, we can't deny that at this point with the information that's out there, the analytics and all that. Hip hop is the most popular genre, and hip hop culture has a huge amount of influence on fashion, design, ideologies. You know, it started off as a rebel against the grain type of music. And I think that's kind of what you're seeing proliferated into everything now, where people are like, I'm not just gonna do what's out there. I'm gonna do what I have the resources to do, and also just do me, you know. And I think that's something that we're seeing with the culture as it grows and grows and expands into different things. So, I mean, I was at it's a hip hop themed barbecue joint out here in Austin called Slab, where they got like weird names for they beef. It's like, or for they got like a pork sandwich. Hold on, I gotta look it up now, man.
I can imagine if it's called Slab, I'm sure they got like the bumper grill burger or some shit, the wood grain.
But you don't. That's unassuming until you go in there and you like actually go look at the menu. Like I'm used to hearing somebody call slab like a slab of meat, right? Like I wasn't thinking about
like a slab of beef.
Yeah, I wasn't.
That's a car down here.
All right, so check it out. I'm just gonna read a few off the menu, and these are culturally significant. So it's like the influence. Like it says, real dope barbecue and beer. So they tagline is slow, low, and banging. Come on, this is hip hop influence. DopeBarbecue.com. Yeah. One of the sandwiches, the Notorious Pig. That's the first sandwich on there. So,
is it a pulled pork sandwich, bro?
Yes, sir. It's a pulled pork sandwich. I'm just saying, like they got a Tony Montana sandwich. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, like the influence is crazy, yo. Like the Texas OG. Like, come on, that's hip hop. So. That's how expansive it gets nowadays, and it's a range, right? And we want to cover that range, and we want to bring unique and interesting perspectives to the way hip hop influences, or in our mind, the way some of this is going to be subjective, right? Like how we feel hip hop should influence people, not just the one-sided gang approach, or I gotta hold on to my soul and take you to the church type of approach either. Like there's both sides. It's polarizing. We all have some good, some bad. So
I would like to think that we have diverse opinions about music, and like I personally like a lot of different types of rap, a lot of different types of music. So it's kind of easy for me to talk about any different style and appreciate it. Like that's the biggest thing that I feel like I can appreciate a lot of different types of things. And so we would like to bring an objective opinion, to the situation and let y'all know. But yeah, So basically over here, got a couple of topics today we want to talk about. We got this new Eminem playlist.
Okay. You want to? Have you seen the playlist?
I have not seen the playlist.
Okay, I was telling you about it the other day. I know we talked about it. I'm gonna go ahead and bring that up on the screen so everybody else can see it. And you should be able to see it as well. But
yeah,
just look at the playlist. I also heard some new. I was watching The Breakfast Club. I guess the song that Fresher was on, T.I. was, or not T.I., 2 Chainz was also supposed to be on there. I guess they took the Instagram picture together.
I remember that.
On the track.
I saw that.
So
the Instagram.
Yeah, as you can see, 2 Chainz is not on this track listing. Like I said, I don't know if Eminem is trying to psych us out or something. You know, in my mind, I almost feel like I hope that he was, but I know that he's not, right? Like I'm pretty sure this is serious. Like this doesn't look like a fake album cover or
By the look of
anything.
by excuse me, by the look of the playlist, it looks like every song on here is gonna be like that "I'm a Doctor" song or "I Need a Doctor." My
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, kind of epic ballad style,
Right.
pop style hip hop. We'll definitely throw that word in there. There are pop singers on here, and some
He look like he
R&B.
going for that Grammy with this one, bro.
I think he's going for all the Grammys with this one. Like not even just like best album, best artist, best production. He might have some music videos. It's like over the top. I mean, maybe he's trying to win like a Tony Award or something. Like one of them high prestige, lifetime achievement type awards. He's trying to, I guess, move up to that U2 type level.
Right. This is, and hey, it's admirable. Like I definitely
I'm not
feel like that's
against
not a bad direction to go. But this album playlist, I see Skylar Grey, that's the girl from I Need a Doctor.
Yeah.
Alicia Keys, she gonna be singing on there. This Ed Sheeran,
I think.
whatever. I've heard of him. I haven't.
Super super hot pop star right now.
Right. Yeah, a lot of the ladies like this
I
dude.
actually just heard Kalani last night. She got a song with Lil Yachty and somebody else. I forgot who the other person was on that song, but
And then Pink got a song with him on
a previous project.
On one of them albums, but it's similar to the same type of style that I'm talking about with Skylar Grey.
Yeah.
So yeah, this album, but there are some songs sprinkled in here, like this Framed, that don't got no feature. Offended.
Okay, there's not a question whether or not that some of these features look not necessarily shaky, but they don't necessarily look like what you would expect from a rapper's project, right? Or a hip
From Eminem. I would say this is not something I would expect from Eminem, but the new phase Eminem, the
post relapse Eminem, yeah, I can expect this. I thought that maybe he was trying to hint at maybe he was gonna drop like a project with very few features, kind of like a Jay-Z type project. I actually would have preferred that, right? Like, or even a Kendrick, a Lamar or a J. Cole type project where it was just not a ton of features on there. Everything was in pocket for both of those guys in terms of all the artists they chose to be on there. Not saying that Eminem can't do well with the pop records that he's dropped. I don't personally like hearing him on those tracks. Like it doesn't excite me or anything, but I'm not mad. I know this may be the direction that he has to go to progress, right? Like, a lot of people don't recognize that as you get older in this game and the culture, you may or may not be able to sustain yourself on a certain level if you continue to do music a certain way. Now you can't. Everybody.
He probably can't see himself getting on there and being like, "Come in, because that's what he was on the other day.
He don't have to do that. Like he dropped some on that Infinite and on that Slim Shady project. I think what made people fall in love with Eminem, but beyond his like antics, was he had some hip hop on there, like some genuine like Rakim, Wu-Tang style. And with all these older artists dropping hip hop projects, like Wu-Tang just dropped some heat, And
one of my favorite Eminem songs is the Role Model track from Slim Shady LP, where he's like, that's the one. Can somebody please explain to my brain that I just severed the main vein with a chainsaw and I'm in pain? That whole shit.
Yeah, but that's the horrorcore rap. Like I prefer we talked about this, but I prefer like the track "The Rock Bottom," like where when life makes you mad enough to steal, it's rock bottom, and like he spit some very hard, ragey bars in there, but that was straight rap, right? Like wasn't a question about what genre that was, right? Like I think this is what he's doing now is a pop fusion, and he's moving
I
toward.
would say that was one of the popular songs he had on the Slim Shady LP. Like
Which
that one to me, the Rock Bottom.
The Rock
Because
Bottom track?
yeah, because you had like all of these more lyrical battle rap style songs, and then that Rock Bottom came on. There were a couple songs on the Slim Shady LP.
I feel like that was just like some classic, you know, almost boom bap. You know what I'm saying? I can't really call that a poppy. I feel like My Name Is was a poppy rap track. You know what I'm saying? Where it was reaching between multiple genres and trying to kind of be silly and parody. Like, but don't get me wrong. I guess there can be serious pop music, but I didn't get that vibe from that track. You know, but either way, you know, M is a prolific artist. He has every right to do whatever he wants with his music at this point. You know, I can't get features with none of these artists that he's featuring with. I imagine not with his status level. So, I mean, he can do whatever he wants. I mean, whether I like it or not, it's not gonna matter. He's gonna have a target audience that will like this. I think he's at that level where he can target an audience. He has enough resources. But people have been saying, you know, that Walk on Water track didn't do so well or whatever. But I don't know what not so well is for artists on that level, right? Like, I'm not getting 50 million views on a YouTube video. So, you know, maybe for him, they're like, oh, we were expecting 300 million views or something. I don't know. I don't know what.
I think that's people just don't like Eminem, or, you know, like I say, people who are in control of the media steering the narrative, fake news. I want to just
put that out there. You feel like it could be some fake news going on.
I mean, you just steer the perspective, because this shit is all relative, right? Like you could say David Banner is not hot because of one particular thing, right? But you exclude all these other things, and you don't put it into the right perspective, right? Like David Banner didn't make a video for his album. I'm talking about the God Box. He didn't make a video for his album, but he was like, I think, #1 on iTunes. It was like, he was #1 on all these streaming sites.
Yeah, that's like the Jadakiss and Fabulous album that just went #1, or even the artist that I've been following, Curtis King. He went #4 on the charts, and it was on an independent. And people don't talk about stuff like that, obviously, because it's not newsworthy for the industry.
Well, you don't want to give too much props to the independent market, because people still trying to steer the game in a certain direction.
On that the other day, like, you know, he's like, I'm not broke or nothing. Like, I don't know why that narrative is being written. Like, I got more money than any. He's like, I got more money than I can spend in my lifetime. Like, where did this narrative come from that since Jay-Z left me, all my money evaporated or something? And I'm like, that's right. Like, just because people don't see you every day and you're not in the public spotlight don't mean that you fell off. I'm pretty sure.
Did he ever get the rights to Reasonable Doubt? Or does he still have the rights to Reasonable Doubt?
I don't know about all that. I'm just saying in general, he didn't stop doing things because Jay-Z left. He just isn't doing music anymore. And he's like, that's what I'm not doing. But I still got many businesses, and I still have made a lot of money over my lifetime already. It's like, you can't think that all that money he made while Rockefeller was booming, because a lot of those artists were doing extremely well, like in that platinum era of rap, you know. Definitely, you might not be as people talk about golden era and all of that. Like when people say that, I look at it like, when you talk about golden era, that was like when gold records were common. So we're technically in another golden era of rap, in my opinion, right? Because the platinum era was a period of time where everybody that was hot could drop a platinum album, right? And that's, you know, million plus sales. And then it kind of started tapering off, where only a few people could actually get the platinum. And it's still kind of like that right now. Like, most people ain't going platinum with an album. Maybe 1 or 2 singles get that high up, and a couple projects, but not like it used to be. So I think the golden era has come back in terms of record sales, right? Like in the when people want to talk about golden or platinum era or whatever.
Well, we have a new way of consuming music now, and the problem was that the music industry was fighting against the internet for a long time, and still trying to get people to purchase actual records, CDs, and people started pirating music. There was a whole period of time to where nobody bought music. Everybody had Napster, Kazaa, whatever, and you was downloading whole discographies and burning that shit onto a disc, and everybody had the giant booklet full of fucking burnt CDs. And what happened was they finally embraced the internet. They shut down Napster, made that shit pretty much illegal to download music, made it harder to do so, and put their music online. So now you have.
I mean, I don't even think it was just that, right? Like, I think what actually made that real change is when they started offering free streaming music, or music that could be streamed, right? And that allowed people to kind of be honest about their stealing the music, because people will go buy the Spotify or the Apple Music or whatever and listen to whatever they want then, and then they don't have to steal music, but they're not individual contributors to each artist's music. So there was definitely a lull in that game at that time. I mean, I don't know if streaming music is exactly going to put the same revenue that the record sales were putting in artists' pockets, but it is opening up the channels again for analytics, for people to see how popular something is, right? Because when people was downloading stuff for free, you can't really see what people are listening to, right? You can't track that. So by them opening the doors with the kind of streaming services, that's also allowed people to pick out whatever music they like, and for independent channels to go in and target markets better, right? Like, now that they've kind of took away that I guess it's almost like a doorway or whatever, or like the gatekeeper, in essence, because of digital music, because of streaming services, there is no gatekeeper. So if I decide as an independent marketer that I want to go after this particular audience with my media, then I can do it. And that's the change that you see. That's why any style of music that's really popular now is popular, because they found these younger people who are already captivating the audience, and then they just put the gasoline on the fire. They're like, oh, this guy has a following of like 100,000. We'll take that and we'll put that all on the media everywhere, and people will become enamored with this person who has kind of like a street level celebrity. And then
and you hear a lot of artists, like older artists, saying they don't understand why somebody would sign to a label right now. And to an extent, that's true. It depends on what you want out of your career.
I think you sign when it makes sense, right? Like, don't sign before you drop the project. You know what I'm saying? That's stupid. Sign when...
Well, if you already built your following to the point to where major labels want to sign you, the choice to sign really depends on what you want out of your career. Like, if you want all your money and you want to control everything, then the best thing to do, because you've already done all the work, you know what I'm saying, is to get some sort of distribution, or
but I look at
your own label.
Look at it like Nipsey Hussle. He just recently signed to Atlantic, but he's been independent, maybe 10 years or more. I don't know. I mean, he's been out for a while at this point. Let's say probably 5 to 10 years. But I think he signed because he was at a point where he was like, I'm already very, very successful with my independent brand. How much further can I take it? And I think that's when you sign a deal, right? Like, you don't sign a deal because you're trying to eat, right? You sign a deal because you're trying to get more out the game. And it's like, if you're going in with that attitude, you probably ain't signing no bad deal, right?
Right.
If you already getting a lot of money, and they understand that you getting money, that conversation is gonna be a lot different. But I think some artists, they sign too fast. It's not a matter of should you sign or shouldn't you sign. If somebody's coming to you and like, we gonna change your life, then that's not a bad thing. Like, you know, like people can't be so negative about it. It's good to be independent. It's good to have control, but it's also good to provide for the people that you're trying to provide for. Now be cautious, right? If you go and sign a deal, make sure you get your lawyer involved. Make sure you read the contract too. Don't just let your lawyer read the contract. If you can't read, that's a problem as well. You know, you need to learn how to read. You need to educate yourself. I mean, it's not funny.
Okay. Let's say this. We don't want to put it out there like that. You know, rappers don't know how to read. There are some motherfuckers out there though
that are ultra intelligent
that don't know how to read, right?
Yes,
and I think it's other motherfuckers that don't want to put in that effort to take the time to read it and understand it, and so they want someone else to do it for them. And I think that's also just as bad, you know.
But that's what I'm saying. That's to me, what my brother always said, the only difference between actually, like, if you have a capability to do something and you don't do it, and you don't know how to do it and you don't do it, the only real difference is that there are two different situations, but the outcome is still the same. It doesn't get done. So his belief is that no matter if you have the capability and you don't do it, or you don't have the capability and you don't do it, you can't do it. And he was like, for whatever reason, you can't do something. If you need to be doing that, you need to figure it out, because it's going to benefit you in the long run if you're not signing a bad deal. It's too many artists that talk about signing a bad deal, and then it's other artists that are signed every day. You don't hear nothing from them because they fine, they eating, everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at some of these.
We've come to the point to where the informed artist is a thing.
Yes,
it was in the benefit of the major labels before to not have an informed artist, right? And so you tell an artist whatever, you can get away with whatever. But that happened to so many major artists, like the best of the best and the greatest of the greatest, that now when the artists come into the game, they know a little bit more and they understand a little bit more.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the younger cats either know what they want, or they go out and they find somebody that know exactly, is going to be honest with them and help them to know what to do. And that's really the way to go. You know what I'm saying? I think we got to go to this next topic.
Okay.
The Migos Joe Budden issue.
I mean, I don't know. This is one of those beefs where if you didn't see it coming, you know, you had to be blind. It's obvious that anytime there's, especially at this point in the game, right? Anytime there's friction between two people that are well known in the media, it probably for rappers is gonna come to something like this, whether it's a rap beef or some type of street beef, right? And I think they really hadn't settled the score when it came to the Joe Budden academic situation that happened at the Grammys or whatever, or the BET, I think the
BET Awards.
They never really said anything about it, like, you know what I'm saying? There was probably some banter on Twitter, but they hadn't come on record and said nothing to Joe Budden about how they felt about the situation. So I think that the fact that this happened is probably obvious that it was going to happen. I didn't know they were going to do it in this way, but I think we were talking about it earlier. It really is a matter of who wins in this situation, right? Like, are we really expecting? Is Joe Budden gonna drop some bars? Maybe.
I would say he should. Like, why would he not? Why would you not drop no bars, Joe Budden?
I mean, you know, because a lot of people don't. I guess they don't honor the lyrical rapper versus the more trap style artist, right? Like, but at the same time,
you're just supposed to do that though, because think about how many years this man been talking about how, and then here in recent years, right? Yeah. Like, he's been talking about how these cats suck, right? And how you should supposed to be rapping, right? And but so
I think it's because he has a difference of opinion in musical taste, right? Like, I got a couple homies that's, you know, really into Joe Budden. Now they white, You know, I'm gonna put that out there. And I no, I'm not gonna lie. I got
So are you
three.
telling me if Joe Budden came out
I
with a
got three
verse?
homies that's into Joe Budden. I've listened to Joe Budden. I had some tracks that I mess with. He's definitely a dope lyricist, right? Like I'm not gonna say that he's not lyrically talented, but in terms of making hit records, things that sound great for radio and stuff like that, that's never been his forte. I don't know if he ever really cared about that, or maybe he did want that at some point, as all signed artists probably do. But he's had, you know, he had that last beef he had with Drake. It wasn't necessarily that exciting. I heard you know, it was a couple bars here and there where it was cool, but Drake won that just because Drake is Drake, right? Like it was just, I think it was too big of a hill to climb. That's why ain't nobody talking about that beef, right? Like you notice nobody's weighing that beef up again because I don't think it went anywhere, right? Like it didn't have enough impact. And maybe some people did say that Joe Budden won. I mean, yeah, okay, I like to see him drop some bars for the culture because I know he can rap. But I want him to do it in a way that's hit record style, right? Like if he drops just some.
Put it like this though. Think about it like this. Say you the baddest kung fu dude, right?
Yeah.
And then a cat come up and he say, "Fuck kung fu. That's that old shit. I just box. I just throw them hands.
Bruce Lee did.
I'm finna whoop that ass, right?" And he whoops your ass, right? He puts hands on you.
Yeah.
Don't nobody want to do kung fu no more, right? And so it's like,
I feel you. They almost like they trying to rewrite the story. I think that, and I think that's the argument that older MCs have towards the newer MCs, that they're basically trying to replace old school music with the new school music, but I don't think it's a replacement thing. There's always going to be a.
I think they're making it seem like that music has no validity at all. Instead of just saying this is what I do, this is what y'all do, I don't do that same thing. They're going, I don't listen to that shit. That shit's not hot. This is what's lit.
Yeah, but I think it's also because people immediately attack them, right? Like they don't give them a chance to.
That's true.
To, you know, they like, well, do you listen to Tupac? I'm like, I was, come on, I'm 30 now, right? Almost 30. When Tupac was out in his prime, I was barely even a teenager, right? He died when I was still a kid, so even I can't be like, yeah, I've listened to a ton of Tupac, right? But was that an artist that I actually growing up with? No, I have to be like, that's more like a Jay-Z. That's more like a Dipset. Maybe that's like a Nas, you know what I'm saying? More like a actual 90s rappers, late 90s rappers, early 2000 rappers. Like I grew up with an Eminem or a 3 6 Mafia more than I did with a Tupac, right? Like what music did I listen to in high school, in college? You know, a lot of those musics tend to be the ones that influence you the most, and then your taste changed as you get older. You may, and a lot of times you don't necessarily move with the new waves. I mean, I liken that to Joe Budden. He's not really moving with the new waves, and he's not that old, but he's old enough to where he's like, I don't want to hear nothing new exactly right.
I think what a lot of cats have a problem with from that era, or who are fans of that era or that style of music, because people still do that style of music. It's not. I think what it is that hip hop, when it started, it constantly evolved. The wordplay and the lyricism. You people weren't rapping like Sugar Hill Gang in 1990. And then they weren't rapping like they were in 1990, in 95, 99. It constantly was evolving, and people nowadays probably look at it like we're going backwards, right? Like we're not necessarily, it's not necessarily evolving. We're stopping the evolution, and so you're thus lowering the shelf life of hip hop.
I think it's even further than that, though, right? Like, I mean, when you talk about evolution. If you know, or if you follow Darwinism really, or evolution in general, you do know that, let's say if you got a pack of bears and for some reason some land event happens, right? Like an earthquake that splits one massive land from another. and the other like two populations of bears split from each other, and one ends up in a cold environment or the other ends up in another environment, or whatever conditions changes, and these two conditions on these both sides are different now. So these bears on the isolated side are going to start changing because they're isolated from their original gene pool. And so when they come back together, they might be able to mate, they might not be able to mate, they'll obviously have some similarities, but they're still going to be totally different bears. Like a polar bear and a grizzly bear ain't the same type of bear. You know, they're both bears by species, but they're totally different types of bears.
I see your point. I see your point. You're basically saying, and it's true, a lot of the cats that do the newer wave style of music, whether it be trap or whatever you want to call it, they didn't grow up in New York, right? Like,
nah.
So
that maybe they was listening to Outkast, or maybe they was listening to Scarface when they was growing up, or maybe they was listening to UGK, stuff like that. Like, because I mean, obviously the face of hip hop has changed, or the center, right, the epicenter. Like, it used to be New York City, and New York City still got pull, obviously, but there was
we gotta say they was listening to Jeezy and Gucci, man.
Yeah, because you're right, and T.I.
That's that generation. Like these cats wasn't listening to no Scarface. These cats wasn't listening to no UGK.
Yeah, they probably wasn't. Not really. Yeah, you're right. I mean, but I'm saying they might have listened to those artists first, because Jeezy would do a track with a Bun B, for instance. He did a track with Bun B, but how many tracks did he do with Jay-Z? You see what I'm saying? In that instance, how many New York artists was he collabing with? Not a ton of them. He was mostly putting on his own crew too, as well. Whoever he was rocking with the CTE imprint. So I think, you're right. Like, you know, if we think about it in terms of some of these artists are, you know, post 2005, that's where their catalog starts, right?
Right. And Wayne would be one of the pillars of that generation, right? Absolutely. Like, he definitely brought lyricism back into play, because there was a period of time up to when Lil Wayne started proclaiming he was the greatest rapper alive, that lyricism had become secondary too, and it was
because the sound of the music had changed. You basically, with the southern rap taking over, and not southern rap, I'm gonna say southern club rap or dirty South club rap, right? With that gaining more presence, the crunk, right? Definitely, absolutely. Crunk is similar to kind of like the Uncle Luke style of rap, where it's just all about, you know, having a good time, partying, getting messed up, doing a lot of crazy over the wall type stuff. So that was in the forefront, and that it was like a lot of aggressive gangbanger music at that time, you know, with the crunk movement. And I think that music was the center of what the sound was at the time. And because of that, of course, you know, Wayne definitely did stand out a bit in terms of his style totally changed in a time where everybody was doing this style over here, where, you know, you could get away with just saying something braggadocious versus actually spitting real punchlines and bars. So I listen to Lil Wayne with all his pun raps and stuff like that. You're like, man, this is crazy. This is over the top. Which I can't take it away. He does have a lot of really good content, right? Like, and it seems very true and genuine to him and his story, and what he, you know, he's been a star for so long. Like, he probably has seen a lot more than the average person that had access to more than the average person. So his story and the way he paints it seems very genuine and real, and I think that also created another type of impact, and why people, as he changed with the music, right? Because he's definitely one of the first artists that started using auto-tune more and doing more melodic, you know. Remember that Lollipop track that he dropped?
That was the one that really opened the door for a lot of what we hear.
That's the question. It had the Grow on Me, but I don't know if it ever was like, that's my favorite Lil Wayne track, right? Like, it was one of those songs where I was like, the girls liked it though, maybe, kind of, sort of.
I tell you this, I'm a fan of auto-tune. I've liked the sound of auto-tune since they way back in the 90s where they used to put it on remixes. Like I remember they used to put it on Mariah Carey.
They used to use it like in the 80s when they had like the you know what I'm saying, when they like, they've been using it for a while here and there, right? You know.
Well, with Lil Wayne and that track, I like that track because I felt like he was using it in a good way. Because T-Pain, I felt like, was the best at it, right? Yeah, and I really like T-Pain music.
Yeah, it
reminded me of Zap and Computer Love, all that.
Exactly. He was of strong. First of all, we have to highlight that T-Pain can actually sing and play the piano, so he's extremely musical. Not just a guy who threw some auto-tune on his voice, right? You know what I'm saying? Like
I would love to do a song with that dude.
Yeah, absolutely. It's intentional, right? Everything that he's doing is intentional, and he even started off kind of mostly as a rapper before.
T-Pain goes hard. Like, T-Pain got bars. I don't know why he don't rap more, but he do got some rap songs on his album.
I think it was a time like, okay, I don't know if you heard about this, but Music Soul Child, you know who that is, right?
Yeah.
It was some years ago, but he was dropping a project, and he said that he couldn't do soul music anymore. It wasn't really a market for it, and he was an auto-tune rapper now. Like, that's literally what he was saying in some type of interview. You know, I don't want to quote that, but I know if we go back and listen to his latest project, it probably will be that, right? And I think that what that was saying was the melodic phase had already started. So when you get a Lil Wayne or, you know, even T-Pain, who kind of championed that sound, he was definitely spitting bars. I mean, and you hear it in a lot of songs now. It doesn't matter if it's pop or rock or whatever. Like, I was going back and I was listening to like some Slipknot or like some Korn, and they was already kind of like rocking a little bit, and, you know, Linkin Park did it, and everybody's been kind of, the hip hop has had a huge influence. I don't know if they were actually like, oh, I'm rapping on here. I don't want to.
Some of these cats were.
I don't want to assume, but they were though. Like, I think like they were.
Red Hot Chili Peppers was rapping.
Yeah, and so
Beck was rapping.
Yeah, and I respect that. I'm with that. Like, I'm with the music evolving, and I mean, it's like we go back to talking with the Eminem project. I know we got away from the Joe Budden Migos beef. I really don't want to talk about.
We kind of talk about the parallel between why this beef came up, which is you have the
styles of music, right? Like
the lyrical hip hop way of thought, and then you have the new wave way of thought clashing with each other, and you know the differences here. We've been sort of explaining the differences.
Yeah, because I think the lyricism has, I guess, in a way, only been interpreted as, you know, this specific. It's like when somebody talks about using English appropriately and, you know, understanding your literary terms and writing elegantly or at a collegiate level or whatever like that. Certain things that you say and you do aren't going to be as accepted. But when you're talking about art, it's so wide ranging. Like, I've heard lyrical rappers that just don't sound good, and then the same thing with the trap rapper. It just doesn't sound good. So,
right.
I mean, my judgment of it is, have I enjoyed more Migos songs than Joe Budden songs? I probably have, just to be honest. But in that same token, who would I listen to on the lyrical side? It might be like a Nas. Now, have I enjoyed more Nas songs than Joe Budden and Migos songs? Oh, absolutely. So, you know, it's just like, it's not a knock on either one of those art forms. They're both hip hop. Like, I'm tired of people being like, trap ain't hip. It's hip hop. Them people grew up around people who were doing hip hop music and were rapping, and that's why they got into it. It's just because they are pushing a new sound within hip hop doesn't mean that it's not hip hop anymore. Especially if they're claiming the culture. And they're
I would say it's hip hop. It's just some of the people that do that style are not very good at it, right? Like they're not lyrically even for that style, right? Like we're not comparing a Kodak Black to Eminem or a Joe Budden or a Nas, right? But even in that same pantheon, right, I will listen to the Migos before I will really listen to Kodak Black, because I feel like they go a little harder and they more in pocket, right? And it's like other cats.
And if they're using the same type of production, it's like it's a lot easier to compare, right? Like I think it's much harder to compare two artists that don't do the same type of music than it is to compare artists that do music that's more similar, right? And I think that's exactly what you're saying there. Like it's easy to compare a Kodak Black to Amigos because I can hear them on the same types of beats. But it's much harder to be like, okay, is Migos gonna win this battle, or is Joe Budden gonna win this battle? Because if Joe Budden just dropped some of his usual hip hop, deep lace bars, yes, there's gonna be a crowd that's gonna like that. But is that gonna have enough hit potential power to knock off Migos saying something that's viral like that? Cause
so you say Joe Budden drops this song, nobody gives a fuck. That's what you saying. Like,
I'll say people listen to it, right? They're gonna listen, and to Joe Budden's credit, he's winning, right? Like it's almost like he's having a third peak in his career. Very smart,
definitely,
very smart businessman. He had that first peak, kind of disappeared with the whole Def Jam situation, and then he moved on, did some things, and stayed with it, and then got kind of the Eminem situation with Slaughterhouse, so that was like a second peak. And now he's kind of coming around and possibly getting a third peak here with the whole.
He on his Jerry Lawler swag. He just doing commentary.
Yeah, or like your boy, or like a Ric Flair. Like he, you know what I'm saying? He's making it so that his longevity exists because he has a larger than life personality, right? Like,
right,
and that's cool. I mean, I think he does a good job at that, right? Like, and I think we talked about it. I think he's a heel. He's not a good guy. He's not looking to be liked, and I think that's why he works perfectly with the whole complex circle round table type talk. They kind of pay academics as the good guy.
He be giving academics hell, man.
Yeah, like, exactly. He make academics seem like he a complete asshole, and I think that's why he's playing that heel role, and he's doing a good job at it. And I think when you get people dissing you that are popping in the game like that, he's doing exactly what he needs. He's getting that good publicity, the good publicity for being a bad guy, right? Because everybody's calling him a hater, and it's like that's fine because he's getting more attention because, man, Joe Budden a hater, man. Like I don't know why everybody, and it's like if that creates one or two plays on his songs or a couple plays on his podcast and so forth, he's winning, right? Like
it's definitely gonna drive traffic to his the commentary side of his career. Mm-hmm. I do feel like Joe Budden brought a lot of this on to himself.
I don't think he ran from it though. I think he's in. That's what I'm saying. He's a heel, right? Like when you're a heel, you know you're being an asshole, right? Like you're not trying to hold punches. He's talking about these niggas wearing blouses and shit, like,
which is true. Like that's what I'm saying. A lot of this shit. It's like when Kanye got up on stage and said Beyonce should have won that award. It was an unpopular thing that he did, right? Mm-hmm. But he kind of was telling the truth, right? And there's a lot of truth there, but it's coming across like he real salty.
Well, I mean, truth can come across salty, but I mean, I think it's hard for people to accept that as the truth when you look at what he's saying is the music shouldn't be validated because of that. But it doesn't matter because he doesn't have the power to validate or not validate the music. It's the fans that do that. And
true.
What he's saying is, oh, this music shouldn't be highlighted or be successful. But it is though, and it's more successful than his music was, right? So it's like, yeah, I mean, it does look a little salty, but I think he's playing that game. He's being the center of the argument of the old rapper. That's he's become the cliche, and by
especially with the song, like
yeah, they say
anybody who acting old and fussy is gonna be a Joe Budden.
And it's like that's big for his brand. So I don't know. I don't think he's scared. Like he's like, oh, I wish Offset would pull up on me.
I think you should make a T-shirt, bro. Like you should make a T-shirt like, yeah, I am a Joe Budden. Like you know, like something. Yeah. You got to think about it for a minute. Make you a T-shirt, bro, and really play that shit up.
Just I don't know if I'm not a Joe Budden though, man. I really enjoy the Migos music. Like I said, how many songs that I like are Migos versus Joe Budden? I probably like more Migos songs, and it has nothing to do with the fact that Joe Budden isn't lyrical. Like I think on a 1v1 battle with any one of them, or even 1 verse 3, in a lyrical bar for bar battle, like we was judging it on like battle rap standards, because that's what I'm going to use, right? That's when you're usually doing like lyrical, the most lyrical, right, of all formats in rap is battle rap, like where people go off the top with no beat. Like, what's gonna sound more compelling? Some Migos with their ad-libs and what they... It could. I want to hear it, though.
No. But like, I don't think about a real 8 Mile type of battle,
yeah,
right?
And that's what I'm saying. I don't think
Joe Budden slays all 3 Migos back to back. I can say.
So that to me, that's the are you lyrical or not? Do you pass the rap battle challenge, right? The actual format of a rap battle where it's not on track or nothing. You just go out there and you spit some bars, maybe to some beat, but not really. You don't have to have a beat. Like, can you do like a smack style battle, like a URL, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you can't do that, I'm not gonna give you a lyrical tag, because
but those rappers don't always translate to actual sales and success.
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying. That's why the problem is to be like being more lyrical means that you're a better artist isn't true at all. You know what I'm saying? Like something can be too technical, and oftentimes when we look at music and success over history, the most simple songs have had the most success, right? Like the least amount of words, the least amount of grammar complexity, the least amount of that has given people the best and most enjoyable music. It's not always about going over the top. Now, if that's something that you value as an artist, then by all means you should do that. But in general, no. I mean, there's no simple way to put it, but you know, the question is where is this gonna land, right? Like I think as of right now, Joe Budden is kind of getting a win from it. Now, if he get beat up or snuffed or something like that, he might not.
That would suck.
No, he might not be winning no more. It would suck,
right? But I could see that happening. To be quite honest,
it's potential, because he's like, from that last episode I saw on Complex, he's not really shying away from it. Like, he don't seem like he's like, oh, he might drop a record. You know what I'm saying? That's out there, because it's rap, right? He might drop a record. And he doesn't seem like he's gonna back down from his position, which is he's not totally against their music, but you know, they style and all of that, the way they carry themselves, he's not a fan of that. He seems like he's anything that's, you know, really attached to the way these new, or he calls them the lils or whatever, the new artists are carrying themselves. He's not with that. So
but here's another thing to think about for everybody to think about. If Joe Budden wasn't shit, they would not even acknowledge him.
Yeah,
like if they didn't feel he held some kind of sway over a public opinion or even over them, bro. Like they might be sitting there going, man, you know, I'm lyrical, bro. I'm lyrical, bro.
These young kids, like I said, he's become the center of this conversation. And for the young kids, they might not know all of the other old head rappers or whatever. They might not even care about it, but he's in the center of that conversation. He represents the Ebros or any other personality that's not with the mumble rap, because you know Ebro is real harsh on the mumble every time. Anybody that like, he even went in on Post Malone recently, because you know Post Malone was like, I don't really look to hip hop for lyrics, and you know, don't call me a hip hop artist. And you know, I see this time and time again, and I often have to say this. Maybe very similar to Eminem. he's done a lot for the culture, but is he continuing to do that? Right? Like, has he decided that he's done with our culture? Right? Like, that's kind of,
like
that's
you
what
say, like
concerns me
you
when I see him.
comparing it. You did compare it to Jay-Z's album, where you say like, okay, so Jay-Z went straight hip hop, like traditional,
Yeah, one
classic hip
producer,
hop,
just
and you feel like Eminem is sort of going the straight pop route.
Yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong, he got a couple of, he got some black artists on there, but that doesn't necessarily mean just because you put black artists on your album don't mean I give you a pass, right? Like that. I'm not saying that I don't respect Eminem, and I won't always respect him for what he's done and what he could potentially continue to do, and I'm sure. As a philanthropist, he's probably done a lot more than I even know, and he's not a bad guy. I'm not gonna paint him that way, even though he's painted himself over time as a bad guy. I think he's an afflicted guy. He's gone through a lot, and that's a big part of his story. But I think now it's like, is he giving back to hip hop, or is he saying this is where you go once you get to this height in the game? I don't have time to find new rappers. And I mean, because he gave with Fresher being the only artist on that project as a hip hop feature, he's giving a lot of kudos to that young guy. I mean, probably more than, and it's like, I'm fine with it. Like, I think Fresher's a good artist. Like, I've heard of
Is the song out or no?
I don't think so. I think it's just people talking about it because they saw the picture with T.I. They see the track list because it was supposed to be, or not T.I. It was supposed to be Fresher and 2 Chainz. But they see that, and I guess they were saying that was potentially gonna be the project, and then Fresher came out and was talking about working with him and how he was happy, and then I guess people were confused when they saw the track list and were like, well, where did 2 Chainz go? And maybe 2 Chainz wrote for the project. Maybe he didn't actually get on there. Maybe he just, he could have been on some Drake type shit where he was
2 Chainz writing for who?
I don't know. He could have been
Eminem.
I don't know. I mean, Charlemagne.
That's an interesting.
Charlemagne speculated that maybe 2 Chainz verse was just too hot. I mean, and Eminem dropped a dud, but I don't think that either, right? Like, I don't think that either. I think it's more likely that it was more like some Kanye Dark Twisted Fantasy shit where he had like all them rappers and producers in the same room and they all worked on the project collectively and kind of bounced ideas off each other.
It's possible, bro, because 2 Chainz is a very lyrical dude. Like, if you listen to some of the Ludacris albums, he used to have a freestyle with 2 Chainz every album.
And 2 Chainz is also one of those artists where he says he doesn't write, but he's unique. I think he doesn't write because he wants to use he's like environmental, right? Like if you know what I'm saying, you talk about somebody like freestyling on the stage and they start talking about the people in the crowd and the speakers and the microphone that they hold in, and I think he's that type of artist where like something might have just happened to him 2 days ago, and that's what he's gonna put on the track, and he's gonna describe everything that was in there, from the type of car that he was driving and the type of shoes he was wearing and the watch he was wearing and whether the chick he was with was light skinned with red hair, and he's gonna put that all into some type of punchline form, and he's gonna spit it. And I think that's maybe, you can get some inspiration from 2 Chainz for sure, like in terms of, and he had one of the most successful records this year. I'm surprised he didn't get much Grammy play. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but
he's not in that viral video conversation, right? But he's on the charts, and that's another thing that's disconcerting is that we have a whole circle of media where more and more people are getting their information about hip hop from this circle, but you kind of excluding a lot of stuff that's going on.
And obviously academics always says he only covers newer artists, right? Like that's kind of
he say he covered what he liked. You know what I'm saying?
He covers what he likes, but he seems to cover newer, hotter, viral stuff. Like he's not covering established artists necessarily unless they get caught up in like some drama. Like if it's drama, because he is kind of a definitely satire guy. Like he says he's satire, so that means he covers all of this stuff to put his spin on it, but definitely to talk about. He doesn't always talk positively about a lot of the stuff that's going on. He's usually kind of
because I mean he talked about Logic. Yeah, right. Like he talked about Logic, and he pretty much said like, okay, Logic is doing big things, but I don't fuck with him, so I'm not going to talk about him. And that's cool. Like at least he's honest about what he's going to cover. But I would say for people who are digesting all this information, understand like who you listen to and really like listen to they stuff, because if you listen to his content like DJ Academics, he's very clear about his opinion and what he's trying to get across to people. He's not trying to fool nobody. Yeah. But a lot of people just take shit at face value, or they get
and I mean,
listen.
like he said the other day on one of his casts, he's not making these artists big. He's just reporting on them. He's using his sources, right? Like everybody, like every news, like we're using sources, right? Like we're going out and gathering information from various people that we like, and we're putting it into our. But what we're trying to do, like we said in the beginning here, as we wrap it up, is we want to kind of present a neutral perspective, because we make music as well, right? We have a label that
Correct.
we're running, and we make a diverse music. Sometimes we make a NY boom bap. Sometimes it's a dirty south. Sometimes it's a ATL trap. Sometimes it's a West Coast track. Sometimes it's a Midwest twister or whatever, a drill rap or whatever music. We don't really look at it like you have to do something that you don't want to do because you feel like it's gonna go against your value set, especially when it comes to sound of music, right? It's the content is really what matters in terms of determining who you are as a person, right? And as long as you're comfortable with your own content, you can get on whatever style music you want and make it and put it out there and enjoy it, and let your audience judge it, right? Like, and I think that's kind of what we're saying as well. Like, I'm not gonna like every artist, I'm not gonna enjoy every song, but if you're focused on building your audience, they're gonna like your music, and that's what's important for an independent artist building a brand. Not so much should I be more lyrical, should I be more trapped out, should I, it's like, do what you feel.
You shouldn't feel compelled to put yourself in a box. If you like all styles, or you like both the hip hop classic lyricism, and you like trap music, and you like to rap fast, whatever you want to do, feel like you can do that. Or you shouldn't feel compelled.
Even if you Eminem and you want to do some pop style stuff, or like some R&B fusion rap, like Wale, sometimes he does a lot of R&B fusion type rap. J. Cole does that. It's fine, man. If you want to make rock rap trackers, I know we touched on that briefly too. Like, it's up to you. It's your interpretation of the music, and just keep being creative. Don't let any of these people's perspectives stop you from doing one thing or another. Like, if you got a Joe Budden,
we should probably we should probably do an episode on the influence of rap in rock. That would be an interesting episode.
Absolutely.
But let's shout out these producers for these beats that we had playing in the background.
So the whole segment, we was trying to play some beats in the background just to have some music. We tried it out on our first cast, or our second cast. It was a little weird. You probably noticed that our volume levels weren't right, and I was also playing music with lyrics on it. So we decided to do this now. We actually are going out and getting independent producers, and we're making a playlist. That's going to be on our Camouflage Crew page. It'll be a playlist. We'll have a link to that in the bio section. So basically, for this week, the producers that we had was Ricky Roma. His style, he had that kind of hip hop style that you was hearing throughout there. He got some really fire beats. Like, I liked him out of all of the producers that I got this week. The second producer was Kid Prescott. He had a couple little modern, more like trap electronic bangers. Those were really cool. And then the third producer that I need to highlight is Love Attack. I think that's what Love Attack or something like that, or Heart. Oh, it's Heart attack with a heart at the end. That's hard, actually. It's because it's a heart symbol, and then it says attack, and then a heart at the end. So like heart attack heart. So like that's a dope name. Like I had to. I'm glad I actually figured that out there. So I'm not messing your name up. I think you really had something cool there. But he had all kind of those trap bangers throughout. Like if you listen back through, like I said, we'll have the playlist link in the below. You can listen to all these beats. If you want to hit them up, I'm sure they'd be excited. I reached out to them and they were all like, yeah, I love to get my music out there. So even if you don't buy a beat from them, just click play, you know, get their plays up, you know, show them some love. Of course, always like and subscribe to the page. You know, we'll have some more content for you next week.
Once again, I'm Legioin D Wise.
Yes, sir.
And this is M1sta Wyte. We represent Camouflage Crews, 313G. Look us up.
Yes, sir. All right, you guys have a good morning.
Peace.